So today the temperature is Mordor. It is gonna be so hot and I'm not looking forward to it. I hate summer so much. So much. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. I'm here today to give you guys a book review. Yes, that is correct. Here I am reviewing Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I did receive this from the publisher in exchange for my free and honest review, which you guys are going to be receiving today. So Furyborn is the first in a new YA fantasy series that is all about two queens, two women who are 1,000 years apart, and they are both prophesized queens. One is the Blood Queen and one is the Sun Queen. And we are then introduced to the perspective of Eliana, who is living 1,000 years into the future. And she's basically a bounty hunter for the Empire. So she tries to capture rebels and enemies of the Empire in order to basically survive in an Empire-occupied city and keep her mother and brother safe. So she is not only a bounty hunter, she's a little bit of a spy slash assassin, and she has a lot of kick-ass skills. The future world is very different from the past because it was basically after some type of cataclysmic event that was brought about by the Blood Queen, and basically the world's kind of in a set of turmoil. So it's a very different world from Rael's world. Also, there is guns in 1,000 years into the future, so it has some flintlock fantasy kind of elements to this book as well. So over the course of the novel, you start to see how the characters of Rael and Eliana are connected and what roles they play in this world, and how both of these women may or may not be the prophesized queens. One of the ones that they thought was the Blood Queen might be the Sun Queen and vice versa, and they kind of start to discover more about themselves and their role in the world and their role in the prophecy. So it was definitely a very interesting book. It was one that I, to be perfectly frank, was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did, and I actually found myself pretty engrossed in the book. I read this in like 4 days, which is pretty quick for me. Like, I usually read a lot slower than that. So after coming off of a slumpy month last month and not reading very many good books, this was a nice change of pace. I found the book itself to be very well written. It was very intelligently written. It did not cater to the reader and kind of dumb things down. I just felt like it was very eloquently told. A lot of her descriptions were very vivid, so I was able to very vividly picture this world and the characters and the events that were unfolding. I also felt like the plot was kind of fresh and new. I don't read a whole lot of books that feature angels, and especially in an evil capacity. They're more like godlike beings than angels, I would say. So I felt like the plot was kind of interesting, plus the kind of time difference between the two characters and how they're linked together and all of that. I thought it was very, very well done and really, really intriguing. The other thing that I appreciated, that while we alternated chapters between Rael and Eliana, I never felt jarred. Like, the progression of events and the way that each chapter left off felt very natural, and it kind of led into the next chapter. Even though the next chapter either took place 1,000 years in the future or 1,000 years in the past with completely different characters, they kind of flowed together. It was kind of like the prior chapter's events, and how it kind of ends on a very climactic moment kind of feeds into the next chapter and kind of sets up the pace and the tone for the following chapter, which I felt did a really good job of connecting the two characters of Rael and Eliana. You can kind of see how they were on similar parallel paths. The other thing that I enjoyed about this book was how different the worlds were, like 1,000 years apart. Rael's world is full of magic and everybody has a certain type of power, and then in Eliana's world, the magic has been completely obliterated. There is no magic left on this earth. Except for the Emperor and his men, they seem to have their own set of power that they use to basically oppress all of the people. So going from a world full of magic and beauty and like terrible power to a world with none of that was kind of an interesting plot twist. The other thing that I really appreciated about this book, especially for a YA novel, a lot of YA novels always seem to have romantic subplots, and this story, while it did have that, wasn't focused as much on the romance between the characters, which I really, really appreciated. It did have Rael had romantic interest, but it felt very natural because it was somebody that she grew up with and has spent her entire life with, so it wasn't like a sudden thing. When you were introduced to her character, you already kind of had an idea that they had been in love with each other for years. And with Eliana, it was the same thing. She is a bisexual character, so she does talk about having romantic partners who are from both genders. She did have somebody that she was in love with at the beginning of the novel, but it wasn't like the main focal point. They're very much their own woman, and they're very much trying to find their own place in the world. So I definitely really appreciated that aspect of this story. So overall, I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. I gave the writing 4.5 out of 5 stars. I felt like the writing was done really well. She really painted a very vivid picture of this world and these characters, and I didn't feel like I was kind of left in the cold, like not having a lot of knowledge of what was going on in this world. It just all felt very natural and flowed very well. I gave the world building 4 out of 5 stars, though I would like like a little bit more context and history on the angels and where they came from, because you do gather they entered this world 1,000 years prior to Rael's time. I feel like we'll get that in later novels, so I feel like there could have been a little bit more world building in terms of the history of this world, but I still felt like it was pretty decent world building for our first book. I gave the characters 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoy the characters of Rael and Eliana and how they're very strong women and trying to fight for what they believe in and trying to protect everybody around them, and I just really enjoyed their characters. I felt like they were very strong, independent, and really intriguing characters. Like, you really got to see their motivations, which I enjoyed. I gave the plot 4 out of 5 stars. I felt like it was a fairly original plot and one that I enjoyed immensely. So I ended up giving this book an overall rating of 4 out of 5 stars. It was one that I really enjoyed and one that I cannot wait to continue on with. I can't wait for the future books in the series and seeing what happens with Rael and Eliana. Alright guys, that is it for my review of Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I hope this guys gave you a good idea of what the book is about, as well as why I enjoyed it and all of that good stuff. If you have any questions or if you want to discuss this book, please feel free to do so down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!